Hi everybody, my name is John Walter and this is my AEP 867 Assignment 5 Revisions and Rationale for our instructional project. For the project that I designed, that was a news literacy project for high school journalism students in an elective journalism class. And the goal was for students to engage with and respond to the news media as news literate media consumers with the following objectives. Students will critique local news coverage through fact checking and assessing sources for bias. Students will evaluate their own bias towards the information they evaluate, and then students will create their own media project in response to the news media topic that they explored. For the instructional activities, I coordinated several different activities that spanned 5 different class periods. The first thing that they would do was create a log of all of their media use for 48 hours, and then they would analyze their own media use by responding to prompts about what are the types of media that they engage with. Is it more entertainment? Is it all social media? Are they engaging with any print video sources? And several other different prompts to help them really get a grasp on where are they getting their information and what kind of media are they engaging with. Additionally, I would have them assess their bias and credibility of a specific news topic and of their choice and the sources within that piece of information. And then I'd have them respond to the news article using a media of their choice. So they could create a podcast, create a localized version of that story, create a series of social media posts about the topic, and then I'd ask them to self-reflect on what they've learned about the news media. So unfortunately, in my current role, I'm no longer teaching in a traditional high school classroom. I'm working at the college level, working with college journalism students in the student media program. So I do a lot of professional advising on best practices of journalism and not necessarily, traditional classroom teaching. So I didn't have an opportunity to give this specific lesson to students, but I did ask several of the journalism faculty and other high school journalism students or journalism teachers to evaluate this project and offer me feedback. So for this task, did it yield appropriate evidence of the identified understandings? I don't necessarily know for sure because I wasn't able to put this into practice, but I do believe that it would. I think that the task of responding to a topic in the news media and reflecting on that process of analyzing the news would help students help students get a better understanding of their own media uses, and with the prompts would provide them with some of the skills necessary to think about, okay, where is this information coming from and how can I find additional information that is credible. The evidence for this project would be that students would score proficient in critical thinking and their personal response based on the rubric of the final project, where they create their own media response and thus self-reflection. So do the tasks involve complex real-world authentic application of identified knowledge, skills, and understanding? Yes. I believe that all of these tasks involve real-world application through analysis of 21st century media and news judgment. I'm not asking students to look specifically at like a print newspaper article, but any source of information that they're getting. That could be Snapchat stories that we see a lot of. So they're using 21st century media, but additionally they're writing and designing for authentic audiences through the media project that they create. I think it's important, especially when teaching journalism, that all projects are written for a real audience and can be published somewhere for people to see, which means that students will typically take it more seriously. And then I have them do a reflection for critical thinking about asking them what did they actually learn and asking them to put that in their own words. Are a variety of appropriate assessment formats used to provide additional evidence of learning? Yes, I typically use formative and summative assessments. For this one, some of the feedback that I received, which I agree with, is outlining clearer formative assessments throughout those 5 class periods, since it's a tad bit longer time frame that students are working on. And then for the summative, I think that I would switch to a standards-based grading model versus total points in a rubric. I think that gives us the ability to to determine whether or not students are actually meeting the objectives in terms of proficiency. So I just kind of tweak the way that we assess that from total points value and a rubric to a proficiency model based on the standards this assignment was built on. Are students given the opportunity to self-assess and reflect on their learning and performance? Self-reflect, yes. One of the things that I would change based on the feedback from some of my colleagues, that I would move this into a more comprehensive standards-based grading rubric where students self-assess to determine their own grade and whether or not they met the objectives of the class. And then I would ask them to include that justification in their self-reflection. So that way students are not only reflecting on what did I learn, but they're assessing did I meet the objectives of the classroom assignment. So I would definitely tweak the assessment for this to place more of an emphasis on the standards that we're teaching rather than a total accumulation of points. So thank you very much. I appreciated learning with all of you and wish you all the best this summer and your future classes. Thank you.